How's it going, everyone? My name is Sean, and welcome to the Courageour Frights, a channel where we talk about movies and games, especially those dealing with the action, sci-fi, and horror genres. This past week has been a wild ride for kaiju fans as we got the return of Gamera via a brand new anime on Netflix, as well as the official trailer for the latest Godzilla movie from Toho, Godzilla Minus One. And on top of all of that, we got the first real marketing for the Apple TV Plus show Monarch Legacy of Monsters, which I'll be talking about here, including breaking down the trailer and some other material that we've gotten in the last few days regarding the series. If you like content like this, give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more kaiju updates, reviews, and lore videos in the future. It really helps the channel out and we would greatly appreciate it. Let's dive right into the Apple TV trailer. Begins by showing us a projector that Kurt Russell uses to watch old footage, possibly showing it to the other protagonists of the series, or maybe just reminiscing of events from his past. Meanwhile, this is accompanied by narration from John Goodman's Bill Randa, whom we saw in Kong Skull Island. This is a bit of a surprise, as we knew from leaks and cast lists that a young Bill Randa would be featured in the show, played by Anders Holm. However, John Goodman hadn't been officially announced previously, at least to my knowledge. The big mystery here is, when was this footage recorded? It does appear to be during his time on Skull Island, which we know ultimately led to his untimely demise by skull crawlers, so he must have either recorded this message sometime during this expedition off-screen, or in an earlier expedition around that time, as he looks exactly like his character in the 2017 film. We see Kurt Russell's character of Lee Shaw watching footage of his younger self, played by Wyatt Russell, Kurt's real-life son, who is talking to the character of Keiko, played by Mari Yamamoto, who in other promotional stills is seen with the young Bill Randa as well, so we can assume she will play an important role in the history of the Monarch organization. As Randa narrates about being unable to fix his mistakes and wanting to leave something behind for the future, we get a montage of clips involving several characters wearing protective gas or radiation masks, followed by a quick glimpse of Anna Sawai's character, Kate Randa, looking at some old files embedded with the Monarch Hourglass logo. From promotional material previously released, we know that Kate is a former school teacher and survivor of G-Day, the name given to the San Francisco battle depicted in Godzilla 2014, when Godzilla's existence was revealed to the world outside of the elusive Monarch agency. She travels to Japan to settle family affairs, but instead uncovers a family secret. We can guess by her name that she's likely the daughter of Bill Randa, or at least a relative of some sort, and her discovery of his hidden past likely sets the story into motion that will probably unite her with the other cast members, leading to Shaw and the truth about the secretive organization known as Monarch. Of interest is the character of Shaw, played by Kurt and Wyatt, who may be the same character previously seen in Godzilla Awakening, a comic by Legendary Comics that takes place prior to the events of Godzilla 2014, with a heavy focus on the events in the 1940s, which is earlier than the 1950s events of which Wyatt Russell is supposed to take part. It'll be interesting to see if the Legendary Comics will be faithfully adapted in this series, or if Apple TV Plus is looking to do something akin to Disney's Star Wars, and use the previously published material as a rough framework, taking whatever they feel fits the narrative they wish to tell and discarding the rest. Personally, I think this seems to be the case, but we'll have to wait and see how this series will treat the established canon. We get a cool shot of old footage of Godzilla's spines appearing above the waves at a beach, followed by the caption, "Experience the epic series." Given the production values on display in this trailer alone, that doesn't seem to be an exaggeration. The camera pans to show a devastated San Francisco following Godzilla's battle with the Mutos in 2014, with a narration by Kurt Russell stating that the world is on fire. I decided to do something about it, probably explaining his involvement with the titular organization. In the next scene, we see a soldier painting a red prohibition sign over a silhouette painting of Godzilla on an atomic bomb. This same bomb was seen in the introduction montage from Godzilla 2014. I have a feeling that many of the clips shown in that opening credits footage will turn up in some way in this show, and I recommend anyone interested in this series watch that scene again to get a feel for the tone presented here. In fact, I would say that Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island at least are probably required viewing before watching this series based on what we've seen in this trailer. The caption continues with, "That will expose the mystery," referring to the aforementioned epic series, and letting the viewer know that the focus will be placed on uncovering what the Monarch organization is really all about and what they've been keeping secret since the beginnings of the Atomic Age. This is followed by our three main protagonists that will serve as the audience's reference point within the series. These are the previously mentioned Kate Randa, May, played by Kiersey Clemons, and Ren Watabe's Kentaro. From Apple TV Plus promotional material, we know that May is an American expat with a roguish exterior that she uses to protect herself as well as others. Whether it be deciphering a code or finding the loopholes, she is always 3 steps ahead of everyone around her. As for Kentaro, he is an intelligent, creative, and curious young man who has yet to find his own path. He will embark on a quest to learn more about his revered yet mysterious father, and discover his own talents in the process. The trio look over some of Monarch's heavily redacted files as Kurt continues to narrate about dreams and ambitions and how the mission was to protect their world, meaning the Titans, and ours. During this narration, we get our first new creature, a flying monster that passes over a jungle canopy. As of yet, this is an unidentified monster, but its trident tail seems to suggest that the design is possibly inspired by the flying form of Destroya. It also sort of resembles a bat, so while the monster that best fits into the storyline and canon would be Shinomura, this creature probably more closely resembles the bat monster of Kamazotz, which debuted in the comic Kingdom Kong. Personally, I think they'll be reworking ideas inspired from the comics, but using them for their own new Titan design, so this is probably a brand new kaiju we've never seen before. Kurt continues by saying the ideal mentioned is what we wanted Monarch to be, implying that despite his best efforts, the organization turned into something else. Here we get an interesting shot showing a young Lee Shaw and others wearing orange jumpsuits reminiscent of the spacesuits worn by Nick Adams and Akira Takarada in Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. Kate walks through an airport and looks down at a sign reading Godzilla Evacuation Route, which is one of likely many small details that will attempt to make the world of monsters feel as realistic as possible. This approach seems to be very much in line with the tone of Gareth Edwards' first Monsterverse film, as opposed to the more outlandish events of later films in the franchise. Godzilla rises from the surface to a small island, possibly another part of that montage from 2014, which we later learned in that film from Ken Watanabe's Dr. Serizawa, was depicting the US government's attempt to kill Godzilla by dropping atomic bombs on him throughout the Pacific. In real life, the US military tested hundreds of nuclear weapons of varying yields from the 1950s to the 1990s, whereas in the Monsterverse, these weren't simply tests, but rather attempts to destroy Godzilla and other monsters that Monarch encountered over the years. Lee Shaw stands in the desert assuring our protagonists that if they come with him, they will know everything, followed by a shot of a giant enemy crab, perhaps related to another Skull Island creature such as Mother Longlegs seen in Kong Skull Island, or maybe even Scylla, a titan first seen in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Bill Randa is seen running from something, likely during his time on Skull Island, and we get another shot of a flying titan, possibly the same one seen earlier, and here we get a more detailed look at its head, which reveals a very bat-like appearance. A large moss-covered ship begins to tip over onto several people on a jungle setting, which may possibly be Skull Island, or another Pacific island entirely. After all, in the original Godzilla series, there were numerous monster-filled islands, and in Godzilla Awakening, there's even an island called Monstoa Island, an obvious reference to the Showa location Monster Island. The trailer closes with a series of scenes that look to depict the San Francisco battle between the US military and Godzilla at the Golden Gate Bridge from 2014, from a fresh new angle, and from the POV of Kate Randa, and ends with a magnificent shot of Godzilla roaring at our protagonist in the series title Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Lastly, we get the Apple TV Plus logo and the words streaming November 17th, our first hard confirmation of a release date. According to Apple TV Plus themselves, the series will debut with 2 episodes on this date, and then a new episode will release every Friday until the 10th and final episode airs on January 12th. This will be the last major kaiju event until Godzilla x Kong New Empire comes to theaters in April. But until then, we still have this series, the unrelated Godzilla -1 film from Toho that will be released on November 3rd in Japan and December 1st internationally. Also, if you haven't already done so, be sure to check out Gamma Rebirth on Netflix, as well as my review for it on this channel. And if you're a Gamera fan, stay tuned for weekly coverage of the tie-in manga of Gamera Rebirth here as well. Let me know what you thought of the trailer in the comments below and what you want to see from this series or the Monsterverse franchise in the future. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing for more content like this in the future, and hope you have a safe and fantastic day, and as always, thanks for watching.